Hello guys and welcome back to another video. So today I'm going to talk to you guys about how to get over your ex. Now this video, I think the practices I'm talking about in this video will be of use to you whether you've literally just broken up with her 10 minutes ago and you've googled how to get over your ex and somehow my YouTube videos come out, or if it's been months and months and maybe even years and you're still thinking about her. So I am not like a licensed therapist. I'm not a massive, there's a lot I don't know about this stuff, but I have done a lot of deep thinking about, well, certainly a lot of thought about my past relationships and how they've affected me today and the ways in which I got over them. And I think the sort of information I've learnt was really useful to me, and would have been really useful for me at the time had I known it. So, there's plenty of stuff that psychotherapists will tell you, but this is my sort of take on it. So the one thing that I think the most important thing for me, I think, in terms of relationships, is don't run away from the pain. And we're in a world, like in the Western world, where any kind of negative emotion is seen as like really scary and should be stamped out as soon as possible, and having negative emotion is like there's something wrong with you, when in reality, you don't always get to feel happy, and just because you don't feel happy doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. Now, it's not the time to get into, the sort of politics of all that, but I think when it comes to relationships, what you want to avoid at all costs is relying on ways to alleviate the pain and seeing it as a means to seeing it as a way of improving yourself. So I'll give an example. Like, it's a classic thing once you get out of a relationship to want to go out with some friends, like get really pissed and stuff. And look, I'm not saying don't do that, but the problem is when you do that, a lot of the time you'll be 6 Jaeger bombs in, and you'll be sort of pissed out, really pissed, and you'll suddenly be like, "Oh, I'm fine. I've gotten over it now." And this is a really big mistake, because even though in the moment it feels like you have gotten over it, you haven't. And there's this thing, like, especially if you're young, you've gone through your first few relationships, and you haven't really understood like how alcohol affects your brain, like how it works. If you haven't understood that yet, it's going to be quite a it's quite easy to be fooled by just alcohol, and you think, yeah, a few drinks and suddenly feel better, and you think, oh, problem solved. The kind of pain that you feel with a relationship ending is not one where it's just going to switch off. It's not, it's not like a headache where you can just take some paracetamol. It's something you need to, you need to work with. You need to work that pain into your reality. Because you will, one way or another. And so I think while the pain is unbearable at the end of a relationship, it is never, you have to the best idea is to lean into it. And it's difficult, and I don't want to say necessarily don't go out and definitely spend time with your friends, and if there's a bit of drinking here and there, you only live once, but you really want to be careful about avoiding the pain. And we'll talk a bit more about this later. But just a side note from this, the other thing you really want to be careful of about is rebounds. Now, this is obviously like quite well established that like a rebound is bad, is a bad idea. And I think a lot of people know this, but they want the sort of validation of a rebound, and there's something very attractive about rebounding, especially if you're the one who's been dumped, right? But again, I think this is just a way of hiding the pain ultimately. This is slightly different from going out and getting pissed, because with this you kind of are doing something productive. You're moving on, right? You're finding someone else. But ultimately, the sort of part of your body that's motivating the rebound is not the part of your or part of your brain, I should say. The part of your brain that's facilitating this, that's guiding you with this rebound, is not the kind of brain, the part of your brain that's gonna get a serious relationship with, or like a good relationship which you want. Because a lot of people kind of think, oh, it's a way of moving on. That comes later on down the line. So I would save a lot of that stuff later on down the line, basically. So that's the main thing. Number one thing is to, first of all, don't see the pain as a bad thing. Don't see it as being something wrong with you if you're really sad, if you're really depressed. That's just part of the human condition. I mean, you got to think about these things. Like, I think you get a lot of perspective about things if you think about the long term, like how things were back in the day. Back in the day when we lived in little villages, in tribal communities. You wouldn't really break up with your girlfriend. Like, it didn't really work like that, because if you were sleeping with someone, sooner or later you get pregnant, and then you got to look after the kid, right? So it's, I think it's like this idea of relationships being as disposable as they are in today's society. I'm not saying it's terrible necessarily, but you have to understand that it's slightly different to how we're programmed, and effectively, what your sort of caveman brain thinks is either your partner's dies, your girlfriend's dies, or you've been sort of outmaneuvered by a superior male. And I guess in some sense, like, relationships do end because someone goes for someone else, right? Like, the girlfriend's interested in someone else. But what I'm getting at is, like, both of these things is just horrendous news if you're a caveman. In the modern world, like, a relationship it's not such a big deal if you're in a relationship, and that's partly why people feel so sort of, they want to be happy. They feel like it's bad. They shouldn't be sad about it, about the relationship ending. But you got to be patient with the primal side of your brain. So just accept that you're going to be unhappy, and don't worry. You've got enough to worry about it as it is. So don't worry about making yourself happy as well. Just understand that the pain is here to teach you a lesson. And I know it sounds very sort of Navy SEAL, but the best ways you can heal from a relationship is if you're able to stick with the pain you're feeling. Don't seek sort of dopamine, like, gratification through drinking, instant gratification through drinking or rebounds or anything really, computer games, whatever it is. If you can just, stick with the kind of pain, it will teach you. It'll It'll teach you a lot of things, and you'll be able to recover from it better. Which it might not seem like a big deal at the time. You might just think, oh, I just want to feel okay now. Like, I'm fed up of feeling sad. I understand that, but long term, you're gonna want a full recovery. So so try and think in the future as well. Something to bear in mind. So that's the basics really. And I'll go over a few other things that I think will help. So I think a big thing with a relationship, particularly if you're the one who's been broken up by, and often, like usually if you're not as well, oh god, there's some chanting going on in the background. Usually some kind of change has got to happen, because there is the reason why a relationship ends basically is like you have a conception of the world that is false. Your conception of the world is you're going to be with this person forever, and then when you're not, that's so your perception is skewed. So effectively there's something you're doing wrong in your understanding of reality, and then so there's some kind of way you got to rethink things, and it's quite hard to do, but the point I'm getting at, I think, what you can take away from this maybe is a good time to start new habits and to work on improving yourself. So that this is why so many people hit the gym after they break up with people, because they know that because it's a good habit, improves their mental health, and it provides a distraction. And that's the other thing. It's a good time to pick up a good habit, because suddenly you've got all this energy. So try and pick up like, it's a good time to work on yourself, basically. I mean, I've got a lot of stuff on my YouTube about self-improvement, so it's a good place to start. But you can go to Hamza, First Man, this kind of stuff. Like a lot of these YouTubers will teach you to cold truths about the world as a guy. So that's good. And the other thing is, yeah, like I said, like use that kind of anger that you have, because it's a fantastic. It's I've got another video about this. It's not necessarily a very sustainable fuel. You can't live your life off anger, but in the short term, you can make some massive improvements to your life with anger. Where that's just getting it all out in the gym, or I don't know, putting it into music, making any kind of change in your life. It's just a good time to do it, basically, because the anger's got to go somewhere, and it's much better to channel it in something positive where you get rewarded, rather than just putting it into like just trying to get some Tinder rebound, or just getting pissed. Put it in something productive. I said about leaning into the pain, but I think it's difficult to distinguish, particularly if you're young, to distinguish between wallowing in sort of self-pity and sort of leaning into the pain. Because I remember when I was young and I sort of went through a breakup or got heartbroken, I would often just sit in a darkened room and listen to music, like really sad music. And that's really good to do a bit, but there's a balance. And I'm not quite qualified to say where this balance is, but there's a point where it just becomes self-indulgence. And music's kind of escapism, and that's important. But I almost think a much more effective thing to do is just sit in a darkened room on your own, because then you just got your thoughts to contend with, and it's not as fun. It's not as everyone likes to like just sob away to some Morrissey or whatever, but it's much more productive to. I think it's much better to just sit in a cold dark room and be awake with your thoughts, basically. Um, Spend time in nature. I think that's another good thing. It's just something that really refreshes the minds about going to nature. And again, like a lot of the time, life's busy and we forget these things. So you're kind of at a crossroads in your life. You don't really know what you're doing. It's a good time to reconnect with nature. Um, and again, like with all these things, you want to do it anyway at some point. So yeah, spend some time in nature can really be very therapeutic. Um, and yeah, that's my kind of take on it. That's what I think you should do. Spend time with friends, obviously, and you want to have people you can talk to, like really close friends, or family members. You want to have some way of expressing your pain as well, and your turmoil. So you want to do that as well, and yeah, I wish you guys luck, and yeah, I know how tough it is. I really do, but it's really worth recovering from it in the right way. So I hope this helps, and I would check out like some of Hamza's content on this kind of stuff or on First Man, because it's really life changing. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.